So, so we've talked about the nonprofit organization, and I think the slide did not have the word nonprofit on it, but pretty much we're looking at nonprofit kinds of organizations. And the Treehouse, our Treehouse, and Blue Skies for Children are both examples of that. But there is another type of organization that could also be a professional resource, and that is a professional organization. And I've listed a few different ones here. NIAC, which obviously you're familiar with, the National Association for the Education of Young Children. They are the creators and the publishers of the textbook that we're using, and also of the Code of Ethics, which this class keeps referring back to. And some other organizations that might be possibilities would be the National Association for Family Child Care, the International Literacy Association, or maybe the National Head Start Association. So you could pick different professional organizations, and then you could share what does membership really give you if you join that organization? What are the benefits of belonging to that organization? Many times, if you highlight a professional organization, that's going to tie right back into some of the things we've already talked about. Oftentimes, professional organizations have a website that's very helpful. They have a journal or a magazine. And they also have conferences. And so let's take a look at that, this next one. So you could also highlight a conference, and the conference might tie back into a professional organization, but it could also be something that that is just a conference within itself. So one conference that is quite popular is right over here, the Focus on Children. And so this last February, we actually were able to have that in person here in Bellingham. It's always at Bellingham Technical College. It's always on the first Saturday of February. If you've never been, it may be one you want to attend, and maybe one of you wants to take this conference and look at some past agendas that are available online that would give some details about the conference, and you could kind of share what that conference is typically like and what the cost of it is and that sort of a thing, and why a professional would want to possibly attend that conference. WIAC, which is the Washington Association for Education of Young Children, they have a conference every year, and the same as the national, the NIAC annual conferences, and you can see here to where it lists on their website like for 5 years where the conferences will be at nationally. And then I listed one other one here, and that's the Conscious Discipline. And also this I took off their website as well because like right now so many organizations are doing virtual workshops rather than in person. And Conscious Discipline has some really nice ones of that. And this one's a really nice one because it focuses on ages 0 to 3. And so anyway, so you could pick like a conference like that. So so you could pick any conference that would be something that would be valuable to education, an early childhood educator. So it's kind of good if you're going to highlight a conference to do one that is kind of an annual conference, something, you know, it's not, every once in a while there's conferences that kind of come up and it's kind of a one-time deal. That one may not be as nice to highlight as something so that if someone doesn't go one year, then they're aware of it and it might be something that they would go to another time. It's great if you've actually been to a conference to highlight a conference, but even if you were able to go online and see former agendas and find out about the conference, that too would be nice. So we already talked about the book, the journal, the magazine, the email, the app. Okay, so to complete part 1, what you're going to do is you're going to contribute to the discussion board and you're going to share what's the professional resource that you're sharing. A reminder that, remember, you can just first of all post just the word of whatever it is you're sharing, because then you're kind of reserving that, so that if I was going to do our Treehouse organization, then I would write down I'm going to do the our Treehouse organization, more information coming soon. And that way I'm reserving that so nobody else can pick that. So remember to check through what other people have already reserved or posted on, and make sure you're not repeating any ideas so that we get all different resources. And then you're going to choose, why did you choose this professional resource? So maybe that resource helps with planning or improving learning experiences for children. Or does the resource help with growing as a professional? Or does the resource help with serving families? Does the resource help with safety or other licensing requirements? So explain why do you think that this resource is a good resource for professionals to be aware of? And then give some details about the resource. What's the cost? What are some specific examples of how it could help an ECE professional? So don't just say something like, it helps with the planning or improving learning experiences for children. Give some examples. So you could say, for example, they gave you might want to look at it when planning different holiday events. They gave some ideas for how to celebrate Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving in a very culturally responsive way. And so you could kind of go into some details with that. So make sure that you don't stay too general, give some general ideas, but then give some specific examples so people kind of understand what it is. If you're doing a conference, and don't just say, yeah, this is a great conference, say in the past they have had speakers that have talked about this, or they have some of the breakout sessions have dealt with this, and kind of explain that. And then also details of how to find out more information if someone's interested in finding out more. So if I was doing a magazine or a journal, then I would give the website of where do they go to subscribe. If I was doing a conference, then and then I would give that information, and maybe I'd also say what is the deadline for registering if that deadline was coming up. So anything else where do people need to go if they're going to get more information? So that way, if someone reads about it and they're like, oh, I want to find out more about that, they would know exactly where to go. So that's all of part one. So part one is really about choosing a professional resource and just giving your peers some information about it. Then for part two and part three, then you're going to find something in the NIAC Code of Ethics that supports the idea of being aware of professional resources and sharing with colleagues. So you're going to go into your book and find back in the appendix the NIAC Code of Ethics, and I want you to find the section number, the ideal number, or the principle number that supports being aware of and using professional resources and or sharing with colleagues. Find at least one place in the code. There's more than one, but find at least one place. And then don't just write down the section number and the ideal number or principal number. Also write out that part in full, because I mean we're talking 1 to 2 sentences really. It's a short thing but actually write that out from the policy. And then so that will conclude part two. Part three is now to look at what your peers have posted. And so you're going to read and respond to the professional resources shared by your peers. So first of all, make sure you take the time, and this would mean maybe revisiting after the due date, but make sure you do go on and that you've read through all the suggestions, because it's a great, I mean, the reason you guys are doing this is for each other to kind of expand your own knowledge of professional resources. And so then I want you to pick at least three that you think you would use at some point. Or maybe there are resources you already do use. So you might say, oh, I'm so glad you chose that one because I use that all the time. Or wow, I'm so glad you shared this one because I've never heard of it and I really do think I will use it in the future. So share why you think the resource is helpful. Don't just say that you have or you will, but I think I could use that in the future because I think it will be helpful in this way. So those are the 3 parts. So 10 points for choosing and sharing it, 10 points for backing up this whole idea of sharing professional resources and using them from the NIAC Code of Ethics, and then part 3, reading and responding to the professional resources that were shared by your peers. So that's the whole assignment, again, is worth 30 points. So I think that pretty much is going to explain the assignment, and I think you're going to find that it's a really good assignment to do. And so if you have any questions, let me know in the Canvas inbox, and I'll reply and let you know. All right, great.